Good morning, beautiful people. Dr. Eve here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We are excited to be back in the studio again today and for another TOLTM conversation on the podcast. I am Dr. Eve, your host of Touch One Life, Touch Millions. We're talking about what if the key to global economic stability starts right at home? Something to think about, huh? So let's dive right into it. Last night, before I do that, let me just check to make sure you can hear my sound because I tend to struggle because I'm a one woman show. How many of us are one woman show? One day I'm going to have me a tech staff. I am looking forward to that. So I want you all to, as you are coming into the space, to please, please, ma'am, please, sir, go ahead and tell me where you are chiming in from as I bring up my chat space to see if there are any questions, I can chime in and answer those questions for you. Let me see here. So I can hear myself. So we're going to turn that down, but I'll have your questions in front of me. So I want you all to make sure that I want to make sure that we are fully functional as we have our conversation today. I don't know if any of our community is going to be joining us today, but I want to dive into have a conversation today about what's been going on, 34 days of disarray, right? 34 days, and that looks different for each and every one of us. But I want to tell you my story because over the last 34 days, I literally had to revisit some things. I had to re-forgive some people. I had to come out of agreement with some of the things that have some of my lived experience. I had to know and understand that I am in agreement with the Most High and to make sure that I wasn't going to continue to hold on to bitterness behind what has happened to me in the past. So when things happen, I literally get to see, okay, are emotions rising for me? And if so, how do I handle those? At 62 years old, I want to be on the good side of God and all the things that no matter what we contending with in this world, because baby, I'm contending for the faith. I am contending to be on the I am contending with the Father on what He has for my life. And so, for those of you who are out there, you all know that I like to have you all here to give me some feedback, right? Because this is a new podcast and I am working on developing communications over here. I am developing on making sure that I count my ums to make sure that I am not, you know, in it to death. I am looking at, I'm also working on speeding up my thought processes in my head, but don't hold it to my head. I'm 62 years old, so I'm going to slow down so I can think through what I'm going to share with you today because what I share with you is vital. I know that the word tells me that any system that leads God's children into sin is he's going to tear it down. And I don't want to be one of those because so I firmly believe that what I share on this channel is very critical. So back in 2016 or back in 2011, I started grad school and I was really uh, uh, just I was really gun ho about looking and revisiting technology and practice. I love technology. I am 62 years old and I can handle technology just like the young people. And it's because it's always been a natural gift of mine. And so because of that, when I started grad school for my PhD, you have to make a decision on what pathway you're going to take, whether that's going to be qualitative, whether that's going to be quantitative, all the things, and your specific, what question do you want answered, right? And so, quite naturally for me, I really wanted to hone in on. I do remember you, Ethar. Thank you for joining. I really wanted to hone in on, thank you, India, for being in the house. I really wanted to hone in on where we were going in terms of technology in the field of social work. So I began to explore. At that time, we were moving into the mobile applications. We were already mobile, using mobile phones, but we had just begun the use of all of these applications, all of this, you know, at mobile applications to our phone. And so because of that, we were beginning to see on the rise applications used to help people to address social issues in their lives. And so, because of that, I had a strong desire to push the button on understanding that more in the field of social work. And as I moved through that process, of course, my instructors and my team, like we don't want you to do this. Don't be married to a topic, yada yada yada. But this was important to me. This was a cutting edge field. We were on the cusp of, introducing how we can remove the barriers and increase access to education for individuals to get the support that they needed and lower their inhibitions to getting that help. Exactly. Exactly. And now AI is used in most of those applications. Correct, Atharv. And so we are still doing that right now today. Like AI is really supporting me in this webinar, right? It's transcribing, it's doing all the things. And a lot of my questions that I have now, I can inquiry and give information to AI and come up with plans for content for having discussions here based on my information that I have given. It will structure it for me so that I can deliver a sound podcast. And so when I think about all of the things that have happened over the last 34 days, again, I go back to how did that make my lived experience and how did that work? Well, it goes back to in 2016 after completing my PhD, going through the process, you know, first Black woman to do a qualitative case study on the use of mobile applications in addiction relapse. So you can arrive to history in many places. For me, it was in 2016 when I graduated with my PhD in this particular area of expertise. So, you know, we're all talking about DEI, right? We're all talking about DEI. We're not everyone, but many are talking about DEI. I refrained from talking about it because I was dealing with how it affected me during some very difficult times in my life and how I had to make some decisions because if DEI existed then, it didn't exist for me. And I just want to be clear about that. We can create all of these policies, all the policies in the world, but how are those policies working for you, right? And for me, those policies were a moot point. I was achieved a terminal degree in a very specific field with a concentration in human health and human services, with a concentration in social and community services. And my emphasis was on integrating technology into practice, telehealth. telemental health. That was the leading industry, or this new industry that was now on the forefront of delivering services, social work without walls. That is what you can see now today through many of these applications. During that time, I was looking at a pilot study on how to, addiction comprehensive health enhancement social support system, helping individuals to step down out of treatment into back into community with support through mobile applications. So through this mobile application called HS. And when I think about, the skills that I gained, the knowledge base that I had and the experience that I still have, and the experience that I gained, I was in a really good place to offer some key experience to Level 1 Trauma Center, which is where I was working. And at that time, during the duration of completing my degree. So you would think that you would think that there would be hope. You think that there would be transitional programs to transition some, individuals who are committed to organizations, transition them into professional leadership capacities, right? And while I was working to assist and first point of contact for many of the patients who were coming through our level 1 trauma center for surgery. And so I was their first point of contact, which I absolutely loved because I got to ease the tension that they may have had about, something as uncomfortable as having surgery. Anytime you're having surgery, you're going under the knife, you're being put to sleep, and it's not a natural process of sleep. You're being put to sleep. So, you know, just giving people a sense of comfort as they, were taking the journey into surgery was an important step. So, telehealth, a place where I got to communicate with patients before they entered the hospital. Now, that field expanded so greatly, but prior to it being a thing that we talk about, it was not something that was being integrated into the hospitals as quickly, or education, the systems, education, healthcare, academia. We even, when we go back to, and I'm not going off topic because I need to talk about this, I need to take you on the journey with me. When we go back to even individuals who completed their education online, which I did both more brick and mortar and online, there was all this talk about, you know, you can't possibly get a good education online, right? And then there was those individuals who were saying, no, I could never see my doctor online. I need to see him in person. And then there was in the social work field, no, that's non-humanistic. And what we later realized, you are a little confused. I am trying to explain my feelings about the current policies that have been reversed, DEI, but I'm explaining to you why I was so disappointed, why it didn't work for me. So I'm giving you a little back history on my experience, which should have gained me some leverage to get promoted. Okay, does that make it a little clearer for you? So I am mapping out my strength in this particular arena, right? And so, because you hear all this conversation going on, hey, they can't possibly, we need the best and the brightest, or we need this and that, we need the smartest, we need this and we need that. And when you have the smartest, or you have a person who is on the cutting edge of something amazing within your institution, and you are not leveraging the ability to transition them to leadership, which would improve your work within your institutional strategic plans, then there's a problem, right? Are your policies, and this thing that we're talking about, is this thing really working? For me, it was not working. I just want to be clear about that. Okay. So these policies have been reversed, and I am a solution focused individual. I'm a problem solver by nature. And so, with that said, I sat in that present, I decided to leave that institution, because couldn't I couldn't gain any leverage. I couldn't leverage my education. I could not leverage my experience. I could not do any of those things. So, as a result of that, I had to make a decision. Do I stay here and get much of the same, or do I take the leap? Right. And this is the decision that many have had to take, many have had to make, because the policy wasn't working for us, right? It's been around a long time, but it wasn't working. It wasn't designed for us. It's a policy that literally, the the people who most benefit from DEI were white women. White women. Next was um, Latinos. Then there were Asians, and then there were, what's the other, veterans. We were last on the totem pole to even benefit from the programs. So, while it's not about race, I want to be clear about that this, DEI is not about race. It's about differences, right? And but in that time, I was concerned about transitioning to leadership, and that didn't happen. So for me, yesterday I shared on IG how disappointed, I was during that time, how it affected me mentally, how it affected, how the traumatic experience I endured during that process was not fun at all. And I finally had to make a decision to leave. So, what I want to do today is give some tools. I want to give tools on how we can deal with the reversal of these programs in a way that's more effective for us who are in leadership, who understand what it means to redefine. I believe that what we should be doing is redefining well-being as the highest form of equity. I have been on a tour since 2021, redefining well-being as the highest form of equity, because I realized, baby, it might work for you, but it didn't work for me. And so my personal experience is always going to trump what next steps I make to support or to not support something. But I am always going to be looking at how do we where do we go from here, right? And so I think that is critical for us to be thinking about in this time. So when I think about the what has happened, and I think about it, how important it is that we shift, these policies shifted our present challenges, and they also create opportunities for strategic positioning, economic empowerment, and advocacy. So, here are some practical ways that we could take advantage of these changes in daily life. And I want for us to be, to write these things down, and let's figure out how we can move forward, because what I'm not going to do is stay stagnant because a policy has shifted. I am going to move full speed ahead, because we can get blindsided by these policies, and meanwhile some other things are going on in the background, right? You all know me and see me as growing food. I'm growing food. I'm preserving food. I'm showing people how to farm and navigate, how to build home economies, how to shift your thinking to learn some of the things that we didn't learn back in the day that our ancestors, you know, did. How did they survive? Well, some of those things, the ways that they survive, if you weren't someone who grew up with a grandma who was in the kitchen cooking and all these things, or teaching you the techniques of land, teaching you the techniques of gardening, teaching you the techniques of how they survive, then we are looking at an economy, a home economy that's about to go under. So my goal is to make sure that we all have the skills that we need to survive, because what is happening right now is huge, and in the meantime I don't want us to get stuck right there. I want us to be taking some intentional actions about how we proceed. Now, the first area of change we can take advantage of in our daily life is number one, economic and business strategies. We can capitalize on DE policy reversals. And how can we do that? For many of us who are in business, for example, when I left my job, I became a consultant. I became a consultant who trained and taught other case managers, human service professionals, those firms within in those industries, social and community service agencies, individuals, how to utilize and convert their knowledge, their understanding, and their wisdom into income vaults. By that I mean you have a set of skills, you have a history of experience. And what I did was, when I left the job, I was already working on conversion. Okay, if I can't you can't transition me to leadership in power here, where I was committed to the strategic plan of your organization, but maybe I can take these services and master them and teach the masses, right? And so I was on fire for converting my services, into consulting services to organizations that were looking for ethical ways to maintain inclusive inclusive practices without violating, these new laws, right? Since they want to strip us, how do you do that? You offer your consulting services to organizations looking for ethical ways to maintain inclusive workplaces without violating these new initiatives, right? Navigate through these initiatives by these rollbacks, right? The next thing you can do is position yourself, right? Like I positioned myself as an inclusive leadership trainer in the community at the macro level to teach businesses, organizations, uh, yeah, whatever system needed my services, how to remain equitable while staying compliant, right? If I am already redefining well-being as the highest form of equity, because I realized it was DI wasn't working for me. So I said, well, if that's not working for me, then baby, we need to redefine this thing, because something's wrong here, right? This is not benefiting me. And so I need to figure out what I need to do and what kind of program go on this tour and show leaders in my space how to get beyond these these policies that weren't benefiting us at all. Okay. And so the next thing you can do is you can pivot into government contracting. Now, we hear them trying to dismantle that. But if you run a business, explore federal contracting opportunities that were previously exclusive. Let me say that again. Federal contracting opportunities that were previously exclusive to minority focused initiatives, but are now open due to policy shifts, right? You can become a certified government contractor and leverage changes in the AA action requirements to gain access to broader contracts. This is a part of the work that we do in our programming, right? Because we seen the handwriting on the wall. This is we seen the handwriting on the wall a long time ago, right? So what are some other things that you could be doing in the economic and business strategy realm? You could build your home economy. You guys, it is so critical that we do not turn our faces away from what we see happening. Every single one of the policies and initiatives are going to affect our families. And if it's going to affect our families, how do we move forward? How do we move hastily towards protecting our family? Because at the end of the day, at 62 years old, my goal is to protect my family and my children. And how do I teach them to build now? How do I teach my protect not just my children, but my children and my children's children? What do we need to do as a community to begin to protect ourselves against these initiatives? Given the uncertainty about federal funding, we need to create local community driven economic models. This is something that we have been working on forever. How do we build an economy within the work that we do? So, in our program, while we teach you to convert your knowledge, your understanding, and your wisdom to an income vault, that we teaching you theoretical practices, but we are teaching you the wisdom to apply, because you can learn a thing every day, but until you apply it, the wisdom is in applying that thing. And then we take you out into the community, not to drop you off by yourself, but to show you how to build an economy where you live. That is critical to the work that we do. Now, we must be thinking about some other things, building community within your community, so that you can barter, so that you can build a co-op farming, connect with your neighbors. I live in a community where there's elder people who own their homes. They're older individuals. That's all I've seen in my neighborhood. And so, building power with them, is important. They may have some things that I don't. My other neighbor may be good at something that I'm not. And, so we have to build the power to be able to do that. Building a community garden, group investment clubs, all of the way, because we do group investment clubs every day as investors. I'm also into real estate investment. I navigate from building my business to also, investing, all of the tools that we need. We want to let that all trickle down so that we are able to care for and produce income, right? Invest in self-sufficiency practices like gardening and canning, and home based businesses to counteract any economic instability, right? So, those are three things that we can do in the economic and business strategy category. In the legal, Number two is the legal and policy navigation, staying ahead of the changes, right? Staying ahead of all of the changes. And since affirmative action policies were being reversed, partner with legal professionals to understand how to protect personal and business interests in hiring, education, and contracting. Those are some things that we can do, is can build a community that allows you to partner with individuals so that you have a collective, because that's really what it's all about, is building and designing a collective. Learn how to file legal protections. If you don't have someone in your space, maybe even a paralegal in your space, somebody that who can bring what to the table. Where is the strength within your community so that you can build in all the partnerships and things that you need to Find your people. What I'm pretty much saying here is find your people. So learn how to file legal protections for, workplace discrimination cases in the absence of these DEI support systems. Because baby, when I use the employee what is it, employee relations, but it was pointless because they're, first of all, at the end of the day, they are on the side of the employer. It's a band-aid to me. It literally was a band-aid. There was no results. I left those offices every single time in tears. Let me say that. In tears. And here's the thing. I wasn't always fighting for me. I was fighting for my fellow coworkers. Because if they're doing this to me, what we're not going to do is do it to them. Because I am a problem solver. Whenever I'm introduced to a problem, it's my problem, but it may be someone else's as well. So my goal is to always, look at this from a we, our, and us perspective. You want to engage in some local politics. One of the most important things that I have been talking about is not just this, the office of presidency, but we must get involved in our local and state government. Federal policies are shifting, but local governments still have power, right? What are they doing in your local community? Who are your officials? How are they showing up for the things that you care about? You also want to support and elect officials who will protect your community interests. I don't vote red because of they said or blue because of who. I vote social issues. So I have my own set of issues that I care about, and I stand on business when it comes to electing officials. So the next thing is if you want to run for local office yourself, join a school board or influence educational policies that may be affected by federal shifts. So you want to get involved. The next category is criminal justice and community defense. Number three, criminal justice and community defense. Now, I cannot tell you how important this area is to me as someone who has not only studied at the undergrad level, but at the master's level, criminal justice. Why? Because it's been impacting my people, my community, my culture since the beginning of time. Laws have always been created as a way to oppress us, right? And so I always dive into the issues of criminal justice and community defense. Again, develop your partnerships, always be able to advocate for community safety measures, connect with, again, by connecting also with your legal and policy people to help you to navigate. I'm not a lawyer, so just because I'm interested in criminal justice, I still need a team. I still need people around me who are fighting for these things that I can put my finger on the pulse, or I can get on speed dial when I need to have a conversation about something that's affecting my local community. So you want to advocate for community safety measures. And since federal police oversight is decreasing, and it is, build local community safety programs to train people on their rights and, of course, their self defense. I never understood, I've always been afraid of, the whole weapon thing. My dad taught me self defense, though, in karate. So he taught when you get taught something, you can use several methods of self-defense. Get you a self-defense class. You want to always be able to care for yourself, and then become, a certified carrier. You always want to know what the law looks like, because even though you're concealed or safe to carry, these laws, if you don't understand what it means to be a concealed carrier, you can easily become the predator and not the victim. So it's very critical that you understand when and how to use your weapon in self-defense. So that is very, very critical. Get clarity and understanding about what it means to carry. Another thing in the CJ and community defense is support or create grassroots accountability organizations that track police interactions in our communities, right? So, again, what are we doing? We are protecting ourselves. You cannot be blindsided by the things. I mean, move now, take action right now. Another thing in that particular area is leverage your technology for protection. Use apps, like the body cam, they have a um special tools that you can buy now. Like I have this amazing camera. I have this amazing camera, baby. If something that can sit right on my windshield on my deck, if something happens, and record everything, so the thing is, you want to use apps, like Bodycam, or they have another one called Legal Equalizer, to record encounters that you have and educate the community on best practices during traffic stops and other interactions. So we need people to be talking about these things. And if this is you, if you are in any of these arenas, I would love to have you here and interviewed right here on the TOLTM podcast. So let's look forward to that. Now, there is another area that I want us to be mindful of, number 4, which is the environmental and infrastructure adaptation. What does that mean? That means invest in alternative energy and water solutions. What I have been telling you guys: food, water, energy, and shelter in place. These are things I've been talking about. Not really talking about, just really showing people better than I can tell them. Why? Because sometimes, we can talk and then you don't want to become a target for anyone. So environmental and infrastructure adaptation means to invest in some alternative energy, right? Since environmental policies are affecting infrastructure grants and they are shifting, look into some sustainable alternatives for water and energy independence, like, rainwater collection. If you have a swimming pool, they tell you you can't collect water, but if you have a swimming pool, swimming pools are going to collect some water anyway, right? Get you some solar power, right? They have absolutely amazing um, solar batteries. I will list some of those in this video so that you can have those things available to you, right? Some tools that I have actually purchased. Or if you want to know more about those, I have put together a list of those that may not be able to fit in the description of this video. But if you will send me comment that you want to receive that information, or connect with me at my website, which is also in the description box. So what's another way to invest in alternative? We said invest in alternative energy and water solutions, right? Look into sustainable alternatives for water and energy independence. Organize community driven environmental projects that replace lost government funding, right? Because we see that happening as well, right? All of these things that are happening, we must act, and we must act quickly, because ain't no one's coming to save us. Okay, let's be clear. I've been talking about this. When help is not on the way, you have to be able to help yourself, right? Another area in the environmental and infrastructure adaptation is build local networks for disaster preparedness. I have a network, but it's a national network. It's a global network where I teach individuals who are disproportionately affected by environmental neglect. I teach them how to prepare, right? As a educator, as a health and human service educator, my job is to remove the barriers to the access of education through whatever means necessary, and building communities that help to strengthen the mutual aid networks is critically important, that we provide support during any emergencies. So every time something goes down here, I go find my people, right? I go find my people and I say, hey guys, here's what I'm doing. because what I am going to do is protect my people, protect me and my family. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to educate you on what's working and what's not working. And so those are some critical things that you can strengthen your mutual aid networks that provide support during any emergencies. Now, number 5 is immigration and global positioning. What can we do as a result of the reversal? As foreign policy shifts, consider expanding business or investment interests internationally. One of the things that I am a global leader. Have visited and traveled this entire globe. And the how did I do that? Through my books that I wrote. We do not have to be stifled into believing that we have to work for someone. We can work for the kingdom, and the kingdom of God, our Father, will expand us into the territories that need our help. And we can expand our business through these investment interests internationally. That was one of the things that I did during the worst time of my life. So if you're coming here on the tail end of this video, rewind back to my backstory of when I left my job and why. Why? Because didn't have DEI practices was not working on my job. I was the least of them, which means I was not benefiting from any DEI practices, right? So I had to make a choice. I left and I started what God would have me to do in freedom. I became an independent business owner, utilizing my knowledge, skills, experience, and understanding and wisdom to create an income vault, right? One of those is as an author. And as an author, we went on an international tour, and baby, the results were amazing. So as a result of that, I am an international um, best-selling author. We tore the veil. We tore the veil on all the things that were affecting us, right? And these were women, 18 women from all over the globe. So much is possible when we don't rely on others, when we don't box ourselves in. I live outside of this box every single day. Now, that's not to discount how you feeling. That's not the discount how you feeling about this thing. This is just how I pursue life. I live outside of the box of all these initiatives because I am a citizen of the kingdom, right? The next thing you want to do in this global positioning space is investigate dual citizenship opportunities, right? I love building opportunities I got my eyes on a few places, right? I've already processed paperwork for a few places, and you have to be intentional and deliberate. While we in here in our country have been um, under fire and not certain of what's going to happen next, we still got to be building and forging forward, right? You have to forge forward in what is possible for you so that you aren't caught off guard. So investigate these dual citizenship opportunities. I have a good sister who also wrote the book with us, Tear the Veil, Wendy L. Alexander, Inspiring Decisions, who can teach you all about global opportunities and places to live, right? That can provide economic and social mobility, right? When I tell you that was the best network I had joined at the time, which was Fearless Visionaries as an author, it was something that, again, it gave me new light. It gave me, connecting with women all over the globe was it lowered the inhibition, first of all, for me to get involved because I wasn't talking to people that I knew. We had to learn how to be sisters. And that's hard, y'all. That's hard, but we had to learn how, and even to write the book. We had to learn about one another. We had to put aside we had to have humility, And so these things are not the easiest to develop, but if you are willing to build a sisterhood with other sisters, then do so. Find your people. Okay, that led me to build a whole collective a whole collective that's not just limited to women, but to include we're talking families now, because my goal is family. I'm working my I got to show you what I'm doing for my family, in hopes that you can use some of this information to help you and your family, because it's about starting at home. True wealth begins at home. You have to make some intentional moves, some intentional steps on how to, you know what it costs to be you, and how to use your money correctly, because baby, that's what I had to do. And so I encourage you to begin to look at those things. What are some other things under the global positioning? Use the weakening of US Africa relations as an opportunity to build direct economic ties. I have built direct economic ties with businesses on the continent of several of the continents, on the continent of Africa, but on the several of the countries within the continent. I needed to make sure I got the country continent thing correct, right? So you can explore those opportunities for strengthen your diaspora connections, right? I recently visited Ghana, and I'm looking at Ghana as a place of opportunity. So what does that look like for you, right? Explore import export opportunities with African and Caribbean nations. You don't have to deal with there's some things that you can do when you build out these strengthen your connections with the continents, right? All right, so that's about the global positioning. Now we're going to talk about 6, which is leveraging digital and educational tools, right? Finally, we get to that place. And this is one that's critically important and that I absolutely love. And I want you all to begin to think about where you are. Do you want to continue to live inside the box of policy, or do you want to live outside the box in the kingdom? That is, there's no better place. The day I left my job, I didn't turn back. As a matter of fact, the day I put that resignation in, with the weight of the world came off my back. And I began full speed designing a life with my partner, God, who helped me design a life that I could live with, a life that I could retire from all the shenanigans, right? And that was important to me. So, number 6 is critical: leveraging digital and educational tools, right? Build a knowledge based economy. Since public education policies are shifting, we see it, all the things. Take control of homeschooling as an option. We already seen what happened. And to be quite honest with you, homeschooling, alternative education, and online learning platforms that serve our families. Why? We seen what happened. We seen what happened in 2020. Now, this brings me back to why my knowledge was so important in the beginning on a job that didn't practice good DEI. Here I am, a expert in the industry of integrating technology into practice. And what we learned in 2020, that every single one of these systems was broken: healthcare, social services, education, all the things. Everything was broken because there was a lack of ingenuity on what was coming, right? On what was coming next as it relates to how we could use these fiber optic systems. So, since we know that these things are happening, you want to go ahead, as you are a leader in these industries, how can you build a, a leverage digital and educational tools to help our families, right? If you are a teacher, I homeschool. If you are a homeschooler, I homeschooled at the high school level. I found all the platforms that could teach my son what he needed to learn in the 10th grade so that he could finish school on time, right? So these alternatives have always been available since we've had the ability to utilize the internet. People began to build strong learning platforms. They are not new platforms. So when we explore these digital tools that could give us, you know, help us to leverage, then we can create courses and e-learning platforms that teach essential skills. One of the things that I do as an entrepreneur is I built a platform on Moodle. Why? Because I wanted to have an academic platform that will host my courses, to teach, and not just that, but my own website. Many of us are not leveraging and building the platforms that we need in case all of this goes down. What can you do then? What is the power? Do you have books that you can use with where your materials? Not only should you build these platforms, courses, and learning platforms, but you should back them up. You should put them in books. You should put them in, you download your information into ebooks and things that you could put into the Library of Congress, remembering that things won't always be this way, but maybe while they are, live outside of the box, okay? Other ways to leverage digital and educational tools is to maximize online income streams. That is the work that we have been doing since 1990, since the integration of since the integration of the internet, onset of the internet in early 1990s. Was an exciting time, to utilize digital entrepreneurship. Job security shifts are happening, right? We see so many people have been let go. And the thing is, when we were sounding the alarm, how long have we been sounding the alarm on understand that your job is not secure? Understand that your job is not secure. Never ever leave yourself behind. That has always been my motto. When you have been, because of what happened to me, because DEI didn't work. In my case, my lived experience was traumatic, left me in a post traumatic stress disorder, along with all the other things in life, and eventually under mental health treatment, because these things can affect you. Think it not strange that these things can affect you in this manner. So no matter what kind of job you have right now, you should be building up your personal brand, right? You should be building up you know your transitioning your skills into entrepreneur, into your ability to focus to become an entrepreneur. I would leave my job. I would work all day from 9 to 7 to 3, 7 to 3, and I would leave my job and I would come home and clock in to my seat, clock in as the CEO. And that was important because I was building something. You have to build before it's time. You don't want to wait. And that's what people do. They wait. Why wait till destruction happens, right? Focus on digital entrepreneurship that can allow you to teach, demonstrate, coach, write for speaking engagements, all the ways, because you can create streams of income in every you can create these streams of income for yourself in your specific niche market. Whatever your educational expertise is in, you are needed somewhere. If not in here in the US of A, then on some other continent. So, but you have to build out your authority to do that right now. You do not want to wait. I am, even as an investor, I am moving strongly more into that space because I got to teach you how to use your money wisely, right? Because there's investments, you can buy you like I said earlier in another area, that I've mentioned is how to you leverage your money. How to do that? How to, banks is not where you're making money. You have to put it in some bricks. I put mine in some bricks, for my family, and it's 20-year legacy for them. The more I create, the more I, put it away for them in trust. Do you want to build the capacity? Because why? We're doing this not just for us, we're doing it for our children and our children's children. So I know this video is long to you guys, but I need to put this out here because we are dealing with something and we need to face it head on, right? And there is no two ways about this. We must move through the process, live outside of the box of any DEI policies. You can fight, oh, go ahead, fight. I'm not telling you to not build, to not advocate. What I'm telling you is move on the things that you can move on for yourself and your family. That is so critical for us. So you want to maximize your online income streams. Focus on digital entrepreneurship, like I said, coaching, writing. If you don't know how to do those things, we are here to support you. You want to use, platforms like um, Patreon or YouTube to monetize content related to policy changes and empowerment strategies. Why did I mention YouTube? As a digital content creator in the industry of entrepreneurship and utilizing and training individuals to use their knowledge, understanding, wisdom to create an income vault. I have noticed some things on some of these digital platforms, and not many of them work. I am on just about every major platform that there is, but I have never really worried about numbers. I've never really worried about numbers. I was more focused on building my authority in the space. You can go back and look later. I wasn't really interested in no one's numbers. I wasn't utilizing it to the max. So now I'm in that place that I have visibility on all of these channels. Now I know that if I'm going to continue, that I need to maximize my ability to sell. So that's an industry that's an area, that's an area of focus for me this year, is learning how to build out my sales pages and to take action and to call people to action on these things that I can help them to transition into these digital entrepreneurship. uh Sales is hard, can be hard, but when you naturally do this work and you have built out the know, like, and trust with your audience, then it's not as hard as it could have been or it was, right? So in my final thought, I want you to, rather than focusing on what's being taken away, because while they continue to take things away, we're not preparing, right? We're not not, I'm not going to use the word preparing. We're not building in protections, right? We have to build in the protections that's going to keep us in the days to come. So we want to reframe these changes as a call to action. Reframe these policy changes as a call to action, which is what I am doing with you all right now. An opportunity to create new systems, strengthen communities, and build economic resilience. Our communities have historically thrived under adversity. We know that. We done been through HE double hockey, as my grandma can say. But we know that we want to, you know, our communities have historically thrived under adversity by innovating beyond systemic barriers. We've been here before. So, what are we doing to build beyond these systemic barriers? And this moment is no different. It's no different. So I would like to encourage you would and if you would like assistance in developing a specific strategy for you to begin the process of starting your business or community based on these insights, then utilize the link in my description and grab a quick assessment. That's where it all begins, is learning about you, what and doing an analysis of who you are to help you to build out a strategy going forward. Because what we're not going to do is we're not going to live inside the box that society has created for us. So, for those of you who are listening, I know this is a whole lot to swallow right now, but we must do what we must, right? And that is understand that we have always dealt and we've always thrived under adversity, and I'm excited to help you to begin your process. I am Dr. Eve, your community health and human service educator, right here sharing with you on Touch One Life, Touch Millions, the podcast, as we begin to map out what is important to us. How do we maintain in this dark hour, right? And how do we prepare our families? How do we build in the protections that are going to be needed for us to be successful yeah, to be successful in this time of adversity? Because we are facing some very difficult times. And it is not too late for you to get started. The place I the place I warn you to begin starting immediately is to grow food and not grass. I've been talking about this for years. And if you want to know more about that, I take my knowledge all across. Everything is knowledge, right? I had to learn how to garden. In order to learn how to garden, I had to become the farmer, right? So it's all about becoming. Where are you in your life? What is it that you need to do to become, right? In order to ward off these adversity, in order to thrive in adversity, what is it that you need to become? And that's what it's all about. You cannot become these things until you become that in that role, right? So I knew I needed to garden, and in order to build a farm and to build a nursery, all the things in nursery to build in protections, I had to become a farmer. How do I do that? I had to get up under some tutelage. I had to work with my local cooperative extension. But these are things that we also should be teaching our children. My children grew up in 4-H. So we've always been agriculturally astute, right, individuals, because we trained up under 4-H, which is big agriculture. It's big on teaching kids to love what they do and define themselves, right where they are through the things that they love. And I've never seen such an amazing outlet that, provided such great and amazing guidance for our young people to learn governments, to learn to be governors, of their communities and local governments, to build power within each other. And what did that do for my children? They then decided they are now advocates. They're now grassroots doing things to help other people in one way or another. So, again, I am Dr. Eve, your community health and human service educator and qualitative researcher, among many things. But I am first and foremost a child of the Most High. I'm a citizen of the kingdom. And what we do over here is we go after the one, leaving the 99, because that one is also precious. So that is my goal in the kingdom, is to bring to you information that is also going to help you to grow and to implement strategies of distinction that's going to help you thrive above this adversity. So that's all I have for today. I hope that this live stream gave you some insight on what's next for you. Again, if you need assistance in getting started, click the link. My call to you is in the link in this video. and connect with me and grab an assessment. My website is there. Grab an assessment and let's go. Let's go do the work. Happy Black History Month. We know that we are better than what's happening to us. We have always been a very rich people who have thrived above adversity. I love you all with the love of Christ, and wishing you the very best on this journey. Go and have the most amazing day, and whatever you do, let no one get in the way on your journey to becoming